3 IHSA Football. This is Deep Dish Football Live, waiting for Facebook Live. There we go. Facebook Live is all ready. Again, my name is Coach Big Pete, aka Pierre Lionbrook, DeepDishFootball.com. Make sure you follow Coach Big Pete and Deep Dish Football on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. My email is coachbigpetefp at gmail.com. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. And again, it is September Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And if you like my work, I'm taking no donations, no tips, none of that. Please send your donations to St. Jude's Children's Hospital as September Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. You see all the yellow ribbons and all that other stuff as well. Make sure you check it out. It goes to a wonderful cause. St. Jude's Children's Hospital, St. Jude's Children's Hospital does a wonderful job, especially for families that can't afford treatments. Check it out, St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Also, and as always, my email is coachbigpetefp@gmail.com. Again, I need those stats by Friday night, by midnight, for nominations for Deep Dish Football Player of the Night. Make sure you send your nominations in. Stats, I don't need the exact yardage, but a touchdown number would be great, or a sack number would be great, or an interception number would be great. Please let me know. Then, Saturday, working on my Sunday conclusion article. Make sure I have your stats. DM me, tweet at me, X, whatever it's called, or email me at coachbigpetefp@gmail.com. That is, I need those stats. That's the most important thing. And you can't get angry with me when you didn't send me the stats and you said, how come you didn't feature? Well, you didn't send me the stats. Well, send me the stats. That's all you need to do. It's absolutely crazy. It's something highly logical. You gotta send the stats. DM, X, Instagram, Snapchat, email me at coachbigpetefp@gmail.com. That's coachbigpetefp@gmail.com. And as always, tomorrow I will be doing another great show with my co-host Patrick Codo on the DuPage County Run and Shoot Show. Make sure you follow the DuPage Run and Shoot Show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, again, Breakfast with Coach Big Pete is every Saturday, 9 a.m. as we go through Friday night's action as well. So, as we get into, we're almost done with a third of the season, people. Absolutely crazy. All right. And again, with that, we have, I forgot to remind everyone so no one goes crazy because I got a bunch of DMs about it. Are you still doing the polls? Yes, I am. Next week, the Deep Dish Football polls for 1A to 8A will be coming out next week, so everybody can be exactly at the same time pissed off. So 1A to 8A polls, and again, most of these polls are just to drive up ad revenue. Let's be truthful for a second. Let's be truthful. Game is played on the field, not on a piece of paper. That is the most important thing, and a lot of people don't understand that, but that is one of the most important things. Now, we have a lot of 0-2 teams. We have a lot of 0-2 teams that are star-studded teams. And again, the most important thing is, and I've talked about this numerous times in different videos and different live broadcasts, and I've said this a bunch of times, highly recruited teams with high-level recruits in high school don't really do so well. Again, you need those shit kickers. You need those kids that are just there to play high school football. They're not on to go to play college football. You need those little guys, again, that step up, and if a star player gets injured or any of that, they take over. That's the most important thing. Again, you can have all the star players on one roster. You can have 16 kids can have an equal amount of 6 to 7 offers. That's great. But again, some of the best teams that I've seen in high school football, Illinois high school football, had a great group amount of little shit kickers that get the job done and are asked to contribute to 10 to 15 plays, and they do a hell of a job. So those 0-2 teams, they got that that were talked about early, that we're going to do this and do that. Again, team is the most important thing. Offers don't win games. Teams do. That's one of the most important things that I know a lot of people don't quite understand. And again, very impressive for these first 2 weeks has been defense. Unbelievable, especially on pursuit, especially the angle tackling that has been taken with some of the teams, and overall coverage from the secondary, because usually secondaries, it's not so good the first 2 weeks, but these 2 weeks have been absolutely wonderful. Especially, I gotta say this right now, very technical, especially with the cornerbacks. Last year there were some bad technique going on, but right now, great technique, especially with the defense. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of the defensive line too for these first 2 weeks. Hopefully, we can continue on this because there's usually some weeks where we slump on defense. These 2 weeks have actually been very good for defense in Illinois high school football. All right, so let's get to the games of the week. I'm going to be doing this a little bit quickly. Got a busy schedule tonight. Lake Zurich versus Stevenson. Again, the battle of two teams, 2-0. Stevenson, Amon Burris is their star wide receiver, a name that you got to keep an eye out for. And also with Lake Zurich, unbelievable. Going that 2-0, don't think that much of a surprise. This is going to be a big battle for Stevenson. And overall, Warren Township is 0-2. That leaves the door open for this Lake Zurich team in the NSC, Stevenson team, and this Libertyville team. And this Libertyville team is looking great this season. So again, the NSC, the North Suburban Conference, is definitely a conference you got to keep an eye out for. Morris versus Canelan, covered them last year. Again, I think Carter Budding, the quarterback, has absolutely stepping up and taken a bigger role than last year. He still had a huge role last year, but even bigger. Very impressed with this Morris offense. Again, they've always prided themselves on the tradition of their linemen, and they're doing it. This Canelan team, Eric Johnson, Larson, their offensive lineman, Troyer Carlson, hopefully I got his name, Troyer Carlson, the quarterback, he's back. Canelan had a tough time the first week. The second week, they came back and they won. Their offensive line had a great performance this second week. What will they do against this Morris defense? It's going to be interesting because Morris had a great game last year against Canelan. So we will see. DGN versus Glenbard West. Glenbard West loses to D. Summit last Saturday. Last Saturday in a tough defensive battle of a game. Taking on a DGN team that's 2-0, that's looking like that York from last year, like we talked about numerous times. With DGN, Noah Battle has had an unbelievable season. He's continuously building a great season. And with Noah Battle, the big thing for him is when the defenses focus on him, when do you unleash on Lansu? That's going to be the big question. And they have the receivers too. So keep an eye out. And Glenbard West, 2 tough battles these first 2 weeks. They got the big win over Miss, the tough loss to the Summit. And again, the chance to regroup. And with Glenbard West, defense. That's always been the key for this hitter team. That's why they've won so many state titles. And Coach Hetlet always has them ready. So this is a game to check out, DGN versus Glenbard West. And I believe it's a Saturday game. Also, Naperville North takes on Bolingbrook. And as we get more into Naperville North, Jacob Bell, he had a pretty not so good game last week. He's taking on a tough Bolingbrook defense that's very impressive. And overall, their first 2 big wins against the Grays Lake Central team, that was a little bit on and off. A Hinsdale Central team, a very strong Hinsdale Central team. They take on Naperville North, who lost to Loyola Academy. The big thing was going to be is the growth of Jacob Bell in this game against that tough secondary of Bolingbrook. Also, again, I'm trying to think of his name. It's going to kill me. Naperville North. Also keep a very good close eye on their starting, their running back as well. he's going to have a huge game against this Bolingbrook defense. That's a definite thing in this offensive line. Another key battle between that offensive line in Naperville North taking on that tough Bolingbrook defensive line. And they got some young guys that they will knock the ever living crap out of you. Next, Batavia 1-1. Tough loss to the Lincoln Way East last week. Takes on a Lake Park team that is 2-0. Can Lake Park and Coach Kirkpatrick get the big upset against this tough Batavia Bulldog team? And these Batavia Bulldogs, they're licking their chops. They're pissed off after a tough loss to Lincoln Way East. Going against the Lake Park team, again, overall offensive line has been very impressive with Coach Kirkpatrick. And again, it's going to be dependent more on that passing attack of the Lancer offense. Next, and this is a big game too, Sandwich is 2-0. And I'm going to talk about this team probably for the coming weeks as well, because it's just a great story. Again, no JV team no varsity team last year. They have a varsity team now. They're 2-0. They just came off a big-time win over Piatone. They're taking on a Plano team with Wally Johnson, who's an absolute star. Absolute star. The Reapers offense is doing a wonderful job. Their offensive line is making holes for Wally Johnson. Again, with Sandwich, unbelievable. Another star at running back. It's going to be a battle of lines. It's going to be a battle of trenches in this game. Lincoln Way Central takes on O'Fallon. Lincoln Way Central 2-0. Another great story. They take on an O'Fallon team. Again, solid, very solid secondary. They lost some players, but this O'Fallon Panther team has been known to travel up north and get some big-time wins. I think it was a couple years ago they took on, because it was the deep dish football game, O'Fallon versus Bradley Bourbonnais. But again, this is going to be an interesting game. Coach GOTWS has done a wonderful job with this O'Fallon Panthers defense and offense. This is going to be a good game. Rochester takes on MacArthur. MacArthur suffers its first loss last week to Jacksonville. Rochester 2-0, handing out running clocks like it's nobody's business. Again, the big thing will be to contain that freshman running back of MacArthur and Rochester's defense, Coach Bucher. And again, another player to keep an eye for is Bucher in secondary of the Rochester Rocket defense. Again, also another thing too is this Rochester offensive line, by the way, big shout out to them. They have looked spectacular. Bennett versus IC. And Bennett Academy versus IC is a big Catholic school thing, a Chicago Catholic League game. And we're talking about the first time ever. Sorry for the dogs barking. The first big-time introduction for IC, taking on Bennett Academy, welcoming them to the Chicago Catholic League / ESCC. Again, with IC, Nathan Mandela is having a great season. Again, overall, IC's offensive line looking great too. And I just found out that they got two of their kids as well. But Bennett Academy, 2-0. What a great story. Another great team that we got to talk about, the Bennett Red Wings, and what their ability to win that tough game against Moline. It's looking good for the Red Wings. And again, two teams that you got to check out. And Bennett's got a great shot at the playoffs this year. I'm telling you that right now. All right. St. Francis versus St. Lawrence. Another big Chicago Catholic game. We got a bunch of big Chicago Catholic games, actually. St. Lawrence, again, overall defense has been very improved. The running game, awesome. Bryce Bauer, not Bryce Bauer, I'm sorry. I forgot the kid's name. Their offensive line, McLaughlin? Screw it. Sorry about that. St. Lawrence, overall, looks great. Looks strong this year. They take on a tough St. Francis team. The big thing is going to be for St. Lawrence is their secondary, and can they put a stop to Ian Willis, who had an unbelievable week 2, and Alessio. Can they put pressure on Alessio? That's going to be a big thing to look out for. Marist takes on Loyola Academy. And with both teams going in, Loyola Academy 2-0, looking strong. Marist, the big win over Brother Rice last week after suffering a tough loss in the first week to Glenbard West. For Loyola Academy, it's going to be a battle between their defensive line and Marist's offensive line. And again, to make sure that the Mariners, again, the ground game makes mistakes and Loyola capitalizes on them. Olympia versus Athens. Again, with Olympia, their offensive line has looked pretty much impressive, which I didn't think it was going to after losing their top player to SIU to graduation. But they look good. Athens, I saw from Burlington, at Burlington Central, it's going to kill me. Clifton Central, the 7-on-7, very impressive with Athens. Lard is a player that you got to keep an eye out for as well. Big time game. Fairfield takes on Cesar Valley. The battle, if I'm not mistaken, 2-0, 2-0's. The Fairfield, 1-1. Sorry about that. I'm going fast. I apologize. Cesar Valley overall, Colt Packers, a player that you must know about. They also have a great defensive line, taking on a tough Fairfield team and it's Snyder at running back. This is a game you got to keep an eye out for. Naperville Central takes on Lockport. Both teams 2-0. Not that much of a surprise with Naperville Central. Lockport has proven a lot these first 2 weeks. Strong defenses, very strong defenses. Maverick Ole just committed to the University of Ohio. Impressive. Lockport, unbelievable defense, especially against Sweden North in that big win against Sweden North. This is two teams it's all going to be dependent on their passing attack. And Jack Cook from Naperville Central, I've talked about numerous times, is a player that you must keep an eye out for. Galena versus Forreston. Galena looking unbelievable. This NUIC conference, especially when we talk about into that 1A, that 1A fields, who is going to stop an NUIC team? Because the only one that can stop an NUIC team is an NUIC team for this year's playoffs, and that's been the talk with Forreston. Big time wins, especially that comeback win against Dakota. I think, again, we're going to talk more and more about Forreston coming into the weeks, especially when they go against Alena Winslow. Wabanzi Valley takes on Homer Flossmoor. Wabanzi Valley, 2-0. Homer Flossmoor, 1-1. Wabanzi Valley, Tyler Frett has been an absolute star for Wabanzi Valley High School. And the big thing for Homer Flossmoor is, can they put a stop to it? Can they stop Tyler Frett? That's going to be the biggest obstacle for Homer Flossmoor. Big rivalry game. Addison Trail. Unbelievable story. 2-0. Taking on Willowbrook. 1-1, who won their big game last week against Glenbar North. And again, for this Addison Trail thing is, don't pay attention to the stories. Don't pay attention to the media and that. Just play your game. But if this Addison Trail gets to 3-0, what a great story. What a great story. And big shout to Coach Helton, by the way. Bloomington takes on Peoria Notre Dame. Can Bloomington derail Peoria Notre Dame's running attack? And Peoria Notre Dame, another great story. 2-0. It's going to be a game. Crystal Lake South takes on Burlington Central. Can Burlington Central get the big win over Crystal Lake South? Jackson Elkhorn had an unbelievable night last Friday night. Can he continue his success? This Burlington Central team, I saw a lot of doubters, but when I saw at that Westmont yard, that's a team. That's a hell of a team. Coach Iso does a wonderful job. Coach Sabo, Coach Solomon, that whole coaching staff. Coach Melvin's back with Burlington Central as well. This team is looking really good. They take on a tough Crystal Lake South team. Their defensive line, absolute swarming. Caden Casimo balling out again. So again, this is going to be a game to check out. Next game, United versus Sterling. United's got an unbelievable quarterback. Cale Ledberger of Sterling had another great game last week against St. Francis, even though they got the L. This is going to be another big game. And United, again, can they get the big-time upset over Sterling? Well, we'll see. Chester versus Freeburg. The Chester Hornets. I'll just see him, their quarterback. Again, I keep talking about this kid. This is a kid that you must know. He's a quarterback for the Chester Hornets. Please pay attention to this kid. This kid is an absolute stud. Freeburg, unbelievable two-way athletes. Good, solid secondary. We will see. This is going to be a good battle. Grant versus Grays Lake North. Grant got the big win last week. Grays Lake North got the big loss last week. This is a big proving time game. And if Grant gets this win, another great story. Again, this program has been built, especially with last season, the way it's been built, as they've done a wonderful job. And these Grant Bulldogs are believing, so keep an eye out for that. Libertyville versus Warren Township. Can Libertyville hand Warren Township its third straight loss? We will see. These Warren Blue Devils are pissed off. They want to win. Libertyville, very overall impressed with that offensive line. And just that offensive line is something special. Batsky is a player that you got to keep an eye out for from Libertyville. Libertyville, they will just absolutely obliterate you and knock you on your ass. Next game, Huntley versus Jacobs. Again, interesting with Huntley. Again, good ground game for Jacobs. Another great ground game too up north. It's definitely going to be a battle in that Fox Valley Conference. And a big shout to Jacobs. Coach Zim, he's glad to hear that he's doing okay. Again, game you got to keep an eye out for. I guess I'm going fast. Lincoln Way East, the first Neuqua Valley. Neuqua Valley got the big win last week. Can they upset these Lincoln Way East Griffins? And with Lincoln Way East, the scariest thing in my place right now, Brandon Tishner's on fire. That offensive line has completely molded itself into one of the top units in the state of Illinois. It's going to be a tough one for Neuqua Valley. And again, the big thing is for Neuqua Valley is their offensive line. Can they provide protection for Ryan Moeller? Because Ryan Moeller, if he balls out, that's going to be a big-time game for Ryan Moeller. And again, Mascari's going to have to... Mascari, I think there's going to be a lot of signings on him, especially for this Friday night. This coming up Friday night. Lyons Township versus Hinsdale Central. Lyons Township 1-1 gets the big win over Warrenville South last week. Hinsdale Central 0-2. Can Hinsdale Central get a win against this very tough Lyons Township team that seems that they found their niche this week 2? So definitely a game to check out. Maine South versus Palatine. Maine South again looking great after their first week loss with the big win in week 2. Taking on a Palatine team. Again, there's still a lot of questions with this Palatine team, especially with the secondary. Dominic Ball's an absolute star running back for them. This is a thing to watch. And again, with Maine South, if they put an end to that run game, who's going to step up in that Palatine pass game? That's going to be huge. Geneseo versus Moline. Geneseo looking great. 2-0, taking on a Moline team that's pissed off that they lost to Bennett last week. Again, what the big thing with Geneseo is going to be, again, when we put together a tough defense and especially a tough run defense, going against a tough ground game, the big thing is this: you go to the second one, and that's the pass, and that's going to be huge against this tough Moline team. Next, Nazareth versus Montini. What a weird story. We have Nazareth Academy 0-2, Montini 2-0. Crazy times, especially with the past years of Montini. This is one of those weird things, and Nazareth needs this win bad. So, again, the big thing will be Nazareth's defensive line taking on Montini's season offensive line. And again, Montini's quarterback, senior if I'm not mistaken, he's having an unbelievable season right now. Keep an eye out for that. Salem versus Mount Zion. Another great game. Mount Zion, J.C. Johnson's a kid that you must know. Basketball multiple player star for Salem. Green, the quarterback. Another game I'm looking at for this week 3. Princeton, Newman Central Catholic. Princeton suffers the tough loss to Morrison last week. Big time upset. Loss on a game-winning field goal to Morrison. This is a big rivalry game against Newman Central Catholic. Let me tell you something right now. The Hogs are going to be running wild. This is going to be a good, old-fashioned ass kicker. This is going to be a great game, big rivalry game. And again, with Princeton, they're pissed off. They shouldn't have gotten that L. They got that L. They want the W. And again, Newman Central Catholic, they've always been a powerhouse, and overall, especially with that ground attack for the season, thing to watch. Normal versus Normal West, always a big rivalry game. Was there a couple of years ago. I'm very interested to see how Normal West, Gavin Camp, goes against some of those Normal defenders. That's one thing I'm looking at. Richards versus Eisenhower, Blue Island Eisenhower. Richards 0-2. Can they get the big time upset against Eisenhower? They need that W, and this is going to be a big time game for them. Next, Bloomington Central takes on Paxton Buckley Loda. Again, Bloomington Central, I've been completely impressed with Paxton Buckley Loda. Underrated running back, one of the top recruits in the state of Illinois. With Bloomington Central Catholic, unleash Colin Hayes. That's going to be huge. Pekin versus Dunlap, always a big-time rivalry game. With Dunlap, I'm looking especially with their quarterback, Max Sutter. Overall, with Pekin, again, so far, athleticism up front is there. It's going to be interesting to see. Quincy Notre Dame. Hopefully I got that right. Quincy Notre Dame. Quincy Notre Dame takes on Mamahood Seymour. Hopefully I got that game correct. Quincy Notre Dame takes on Mamahood Seymour. Quincy Notre Dame is suffering on 0-2. They need the big win over a tough Mamahood Seymour team. Again, good linemen on that Mamahood Seymour Bulldog team. Overall, it's going to be a very interesting game, especially with Quincy Notre Dame. And again, passing. That's going to be huge for Quincy Notre Dame. Sacred Heart Griffin takes on Jacksonville. Sacred Heart Griffin. 1-1. They get the big win last week over University. Jacksonville 2-0. Another great story. Jacksonville's got a small quarterback, but he's an absolute killer. And this is going to be a great game with Sacred Heart Griffin. Their quarterback, Levi Honor, another star guy that you got to keep an eye out for these coming weeks. So this is going to be a big game in Central Illinois. St. Charles North takes on Wheaton North. And this is going to be one of those games. It's going to be a very interesting game. Wheaton North got the tough loss to Lockport last week, and they've always came back stronger whenever they've lost. The St. Charles North team, this is a huge test for Plum. I've been very overall impressed with St. Charles North's defense. Very overall impressed with St. Charles North defense. With Wheaton North, again, I feel that one of their points that they got to work on, especially, is again that long game, the passing attack against St. Charles North and North Star defense. And the last one, St. Rita takes on Juliet Catholic. Juliet Catholic with another smash mouth game against Providence Catholic gets the win. St. Rita got the big win last week. DJ Stewart had an unbelievable game. Another game that you got to keep an eye out for. St. Rita versus Juliet Catholic. All right. Make sure you follow Coach Big Pete, Deep Dish Football on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. My email is coachbigpetefp@gmail.com. Visit deepdishfootball.com. Again, Breakfast with Coach Big Pete, 9 a.m. this Saturday. DuPage Run and Shoot Show with my co-host Patrick Codo will be out tomorrow as well. It'll be on Instagram Live, us filming. And again, it is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. If you like my work, feel free to leave a donation to St. Jude's Children's Hospital, as it is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and St. Jude's Children's Hospital does an absolute wonderful job. And again, please send me your stats. Get me those stats. Tweet at me, X at me, Facebook, DM, email me, coachbigpetefp@gmail.com. I'm going to keep going over and over this with this. Send me your stats for my Sunday conclusion article and also for the awards. Nominate your player for top player tonight in the state of Illinois for Illinois high school football. Send me those stats. My email, coachbigpetefp@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining. And yeah, I'll see you DuPage Run and Shoot Instagram Live. And again, make sure you follow Coach Big P and Deep Dish Football on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.